All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're not just looking at data, we're diving deep into a clinical character portrait. It's like we're piecing together this puzzle of really strange, contradictory symptoms, and it's all told through this incredible first-person story. So, let's jump right in.
And boom, right out of the gate, we get this incredibly powerful statement. I am a person of violence and weakness. I mean, how can you be both at the same time? It just doesn't seem to add up. But that one sentence, it perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to uncover. A story that's all about intense, paradoxical symptoms.
So first up, let's meet the person at the center of this story. We're going to call him Exhausted Ethan. And his tale kicks off with this just profound mental and emotional drain. We're talking about a state that is way, way beyond just feeling tired. The absolute core of what Ethan's going through is this thing called brain-fag. And no, it's not just about being distracted or having a hard time focusing. It's a complete shutdown, an incapacity to think. Imagine this. You've got a huge exam tomorrow. You sit down to study, and your brain just goes blank. It's like the power's been cut. That's the feeling we're talking about here.
And it's not just that your mind is blank either. It's this active feeling of being disconnected. People who've experienced it say it's like a barrier just goes up between your senses and the world. Everything outside feels distant, confusing, kind of like you're trying to see through a thick, dense fog.
And then there's this quote, which just nails the physical side of that mental fog. It says, "The head feels bound up or held in a vice." So you see, it's not just an emotional thing. It's a real physical pressure. That feeling of being squeezed. Man, what a powerful way to describe the incredible strain that's going on inside. Okay, so we've talked about the struggle happening in the mind, but now we're going to pivot to a really dramatic conflict happening inside the body. And the main enemy in this part of the story, well, it's something you would probably never, ever guess. It's milk.
Yeah, milk. And here's the crazy part. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a tiny baby or a full-grown adult. The body has declared an all-out war on milk. Period. We're talking zero tolerance. And the reaction isn't just mild, it's immediate and it is violent.
And this whole thing follows this really bizarre but totally predictable cycle. It's not just, oh, I feel sick. No. First, they drink the milk. Second, it's violently thrown up. Third, they fall into this incredibly deep, almost death-like sleep. But wait for it. The last step is the wildest part. They wake up and they're hungry again, like ready to start the whole nightmare all over.
And this right here is the absolute key. You have to get this part. Being hungry right after your body has just gone through that, it makes no sense. It's completely counterintuitive. And that's why it's called the unique secret of this condition. It's what makes it so distinct.
So we've seen the battle raging on the inside, right? The mind, the stomach. Now let's look on the outside. How does all this exhaustion and anxiety actually show up physically? I mean, how does it literally mark a person's face? Well, one of the biggest clues is something called the linea nasalis. It's this really distinct line that runs from the wing of the nose down to the corner of the mouth. You could almost think of it as a line etched by pain and worry. It's like the body is drawing a map of its own suffering right there on the face.
And when you put all the signs together, they paint this really clear picture. You've got this ghostly, pearly white upper lip, those deep lines of the linea nasalis, and then just sheer physical exhaustion. We're talking a head that feels too heavy to hold up, a body so weak it can't even sit straight. It is the absolute portrait of being completely and utterly depleted.
And here we go again with the contradictions. This person is what's known as a hot patient, right? But warmth and being covered up actually make them feel worse. It's the opposite of what you'd expect. What makes them feel better? Getting out in the open air. And get this, conversation. Just talking seems to lift that mental fog, at least for a little while. So strange. But the story doesn't just stop at exhaustion. Oh no, in its most extreme forms, this thing can escalate into some really severe neurological episodes. So now we're going to look at what happens when the mind and the body go into a full-on spasm. So when delirium kicks in, remember that mental barrier we talked about? Well, it doesn't just come down, it completely shatters, and not in a good way. The world suddenly becomes this distorted, confusing, and terrifying place. We're talking full-blown hallucinations. And these episodes have some really, really specific signs. The person might start seeing cats and dogs jumping around the room, or feel this overwhelming urge to jump out of a window. Physically, their thumbs clench inward. But the weirdest clue of all, the most specific piece of this whole puzzle,
is that their eyes turn downward. They stare fixedly, but down.
Okay, so we've followed this whole story, right? We've seen the brain fag, the crazy war with milk, the face literally marked by anxiety, and even these intense spasms. Now, it's time. Let's put all these clues together and finally reveal the clinical identity behind this incredible portrait.
The condition we've been laying out this whole time, it's the clinical picture of Aethusa Cynapium. You might know by its common name, fool's parsley. Every single one of these strange, contradictory, violent symptoms, they all point directly to this one specific remedy profile.
So let's do a quick recap of the absolute essentials. If you only remember a few things, make it these. 1. The violent rejection of milk, specifically in curds. 2. That facial line, the linea nasalis, the face of anxiety. 3. That intense brain fag, especially common in students before an exam. 4. The eyes turning downward during spasms. And 5. That feeling of being squeezed in a vice. Those are your key identifiers.
And really, you can boil this entire picture down to 2 perfect archetypes. Think of it this way. It's the student who can't study and the child who can't drink. The brilliant student whose mind just completely short-circuits before a test, and the poor infant who is starving for food but their own body violently rejects it.
And that leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? When you're dealing with this level of exhaustion, this profound, curdled exhaustion, what does recovery even look like? We're not just talking about fixing one symptom. We're talking about a complete breakdown of the mind and the body's most basic functions. It really makes you wonder, what does it take to truly heal from that?